Hello everyone, I truly hope that you're doing well. My name is Ruben and I am a dedicated mathematics teacher. I want to extend a very warm welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video lesson, we are going to learn how to multiply and divide whole numbers. We will study each operation individually. First, we'll focus on multiplication, then we'll proceed to division. And finally, we will complete a series of exercises where we'll combine both multiplication and division together. The most important thing about this topic is to know or to learn how to correctly determine the sign of the final result in every single case. With all that said, let's begin. Alright, let's start with this video. The first thing we're going to learn will be multiplication. To multiply whole numbers, we need two extremely important steps. One is to use the sign rule. The rule of signs indicates what sign the outcome should have when performing a multiplication or division operation with positive and negative numbers. What does the rule of signs entail? Let's start with multiplication. If you have two integers, one of which is positive, and you want to multiply it by another number that is also positive, the final result will always be positive. Now, if you have a positive number and you want to multiply it by a number that is negative, the final result will always be negative. If you have a negative number and you multiply it by a positive one, the result will also be negative. And finally, if you have a negative number and you multiply it by another negative number, your result will be positive. This is the famous rule of signs. And now I'm going to give you a very simple trick to help you remember it. Look closely, watch this. If the numbers that you're going to multiply happen to have the same sign, take a look. A positive number multiplied by a positive number will always give you a positive result. Negative, negative gives you positive. What does this actually mean? This means that when you multiply two numbers that share the same sign, the answer will always be positive. So what happens if you multiply two numbers that have different signs? This one is positive, this one is negative, this one is negative, and this one is positive. The result is going to be negative. So, in conclusion, if you multiply two integers that share the same sign, the outcome will always be positive. However, if you multiply two integers that have different signs, then the resulting answer is definitely going to be negative. Understood? It's exactly the same with division. If you divide a positive number by a positive one, the result is positive. Just like in multiplication. If you divide a positive number by a negative one, the result is negative. The same thing happens if one is negative and the other is positive, it's negative. And if we're talking about the division of two negative numbers, then the result will be positive. Understood? Alright, so now we have the rule of signs. So let's go ahead and start with multiplication. To multiply and divide, we're going to operate in the same way. First, we're going to use the rule of signs, and then we're going to multiply or divide the numbers themselves, without taking the signs into account. Let's go with the first example. We have a negative number multiplied by another negative number. Let's go to the rule of signs. A negative number multiplied by another negative number, the result I already know is positive. If you remember what I told you earlier today, notice they have the same sign, therefore the result is positive. And now we simply multiply. 4 times 6 gives us 24. And that, right there, is the final result of this multiplication. Now let's proceed to our second example. Here we have a positive number being multiplied by a negative number. So we'll refer back to the rule of signs. A positive number multiplied by a negative number, the result is negative. If you want to think of it the way I explained it today, this is positive multiplied by a negative one. They are different signs, so the result is negative. Now let's do the multiplication of the numbers. 7 times 5, 35.
And there we managed to multiply.
Let's proceed with the very last example of multiplication. You're dealing with a negative number multiplied by, and at this point, you'll need to remember something crucial. If you possess, for instance, a positive 5, you already understand it's a positive value because you have the plus symbol positioned right before the number. However, if you have a number that doesn't have any sign placed directly in front of it, neither a positive nor a negative one, it is always assumed that this particular number is positive. Understood? So, this number 3 that you have right here, you already know that it is positive. We are going to use parentheses because you cannot have two mathematical signs appearing right next to each other. So, you have the multiplication of two integers, but with different signs. I already know the result is going to be negative. And now I'll do the multiplication, 8 times 3, and that gives you 24. And so we've just finished solving this other multiplication problem. Now we're going to move on to division, and you'll see that it's worked out in exactly the same way. Before we start with division, I just wanted to mention that if this video is proving helpful to you, please make sure to give it a like. Also, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it helps me out a tremendous amount. And also, I'd like to tell you that if you wish to make or carry out a collaboration or a donation with this educational project, which is not yet monetized, I'll leave the corresponding link in the description. Any donation you'd like to make, no matter how small, is of tremendous help. Having addressed that point, now we are going to solve the divisions. We're going to operate in the very same way. First, we'll use the rule of signs for division, which is exactly the same as the rule for multiplication. Notice, in the first example, we don't have any sign. We know it's positive, So we're going to perform a division of two numbers with the same sign, and I already know the result will be positive. What do I do now? I perform the division of the numbers by each other. 42 divided by 7, that leaves me with 6. And there, I solved the first example that was proposed. Alright, let's move on to the other example. We're going to do the division, in this case, of two integers that have the same sign. If they have the same sign, then the result will be positive. Alright, so what are we going to do now? Let's divide. 10 divided by 5, that leaves us with 2. And there, I solved that division. Shall we do the last example? The first number is negative. The divisor is positive because it has no sign indicated. So a minus divided by a plus, that gives us a negative result because the signs are different. 56 divided by 8, that gives us 7. And that's how I solved that division. Let's see now what happens when we have multiplication and division operations. The hierarchy for multiplication and division is the same. Therefore, we must always solve them from left to right. So, in this case, I'm going to perform this operation and then I'm going to multiply the result by -2. So let's solve it. I have two integers here. One is a negative number and it's being divided by a positive number. Since the signs are different, the final result will be negative. 24 divided by 3, that leaves me with 8. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to multiply that by -2. I need to perform the multiplication of two integers that have the same sign, which means I already know for sure that the final result will be positive. 8 multiplied by 2 gives me 16, and that's how I obtained the final result for this entire operation. Remember this important rule: you always have to solve mathematical problems by working from the left side to the right side. Let's go with another example, so there's absolutely no doubt left. We're going to take these two numbers here. Notice, it's a multiplication. One number is positive, the other is negative. Different signs mean the final result will be negative. 25 multiplied by 2, that gives us 50. Divided by 5. And since the signs are different, that means the result is negative. And 50 divided by 5 leaves us with 10. And that's how we solved this last proposed operation. If the video helped you, I'm asking you again to give it a like. I'm inviting you again to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to make a donation, the relevant link is in the video description. I'll see you in future videos. Regards.